Welcome to Scrabble Tonight.
Your NASPA news in 20 minutes or more. Sorry.
It's all your Scrabble news in 25 minutes or less. Hello out there to all of those Scrabblers. I want to say,
clock, Josh.
No, we're not showing the plug. So I want to say welcome to our special guest host. We've got Josh Sokol. Josh, how are you?
I'm tired, but great. I'm home.
Yeah,
I'm ready
so
to host.
You flew home today on an aeroplane with your back over 2,000 rating. You came home victorious from New Orleans, and hopefully we can keep you up long enough to get us through the show.
Okay, hopefully, yes. We'll see how entertaining you are, Josh.
So we've got a nice lineup of topics tonight. I want to thank everybody who is joining. One thing I want to say is that if you're interested in commenting on the show, and I'm happy to report that Will Anderson says that it's his favorite time of the week, and Zev Kaufman says, go Raptors. So I think he's having a multi-screen experience right now. But if you want to engage in the comments, where we're keeping an eye on them is on my personal feed. So you want to look for Josh Greenway and find that Facebook page. That's where you can see all of the comments. So
follow us.
Absolutely. And we better explain, in case people haven't been watching or didn't watch last week, that Jackson isn't here. Jackson's taking an extended break from NASPA Tonight. So we're going to be featuring a series of guest hosts, and I am pleased to be joined by the one and only Josh Sokol. Can you talk a little bit, Josh, about why Jackson is taking a break and what the two of you might be up to? Like, no formal announcement, but the idea that you're working on something.
Yeah, let's do some gossipy weird thing. Okay, well, Jackson would like to now, let's say, pursue his own live stream. Maybe that's what he's scheming behind the scenes. Him and I are planning. We're in the embryonic phase of planning our own show where we do Scrabble stuff. Like maybe we'll do Aerolith, or we'll play speed games online or live games, and try to build a brand and try to build the game from the internet where people are in life all the time.
Beautiful. And obviously the more live streaming, the better. I've had people ask me, what are you going to do now? Jackson's abandoned you. But I wholly endorse this move. I think you guys will be really, creative and much more analytical than what we do on this show. So, Will Anderson, there are a lot of people who are playing around with name suggestions. Evan says NASPA tomorrow. Will Anderson says NASPA today. Anyway.
I think we should call it NASPA forever.
Okay, so just before we get into our first topic, Brian McDonald talks about how your body language, Josh, on the stream was pretty hilarious when you were playing Jackson. So that'll be interesting. We'll get into the game that you guys had on stream was really one of the most decisive games, right, of the tournament. Is that fair to say?
We played two games. The second game was obviously more important than the first game.
Okay, gotcha.
And Jackson was just slow rolling me, so I had nothing to do but to look into the camera, or I don't know, look at people challenging stupid words from I don't know, other divisions. So
Nice.
That's basically what I was doing because I really didn't know what else to do. So Thank you, Brian, for the compliment.
Now let's get into our number one topic, and that is that Canada sweeps NOLA. We had both divisions being won by Canadians. So let's bring on our special guest tonight, Evan Berfosky. Evan, how are you?
Also tired, but great. I'm going to steal that line from Josh Jr.
All right. So you also flew in today, right?
Correct.
Is that the reason for this getup?
Yeah. I'm actually asleep right now in this outfit.
It's perfect outfit. He's hiding his eyes. You look amazing. Can you show us what it says on your sweater, Evan?
The hoodie, yes, that I purchased yesterday from let's see, Fritzels.
Hey, Fritzels.
Fritzels European. Shout out to Jason Brosma, who introduced me and others to that, and who was a big patron of that place.
Fritzels is a live jazz bar on Bourbon Street. It's where it's at if you're ever in New Orleans.
It really is.
If you walk to the end of Bourbon, Fritzels is the place to be.
Did you make it out there, Josh?
I did, yeah. I went once. It was just amazing. It's just the best. Like live music in the city that music's better than any other city is just what you need to do.
Fantastic. Now let's talk about both of your wins. Evan, you've been to this tournament a number of times before. You've come in third, you've come in fourth, so you've cashed 3 times. But this year you broke through, I think, on your 5th attempt. You're now part of an exclusive club of those who have won NOLA and Niagara Falls, which I always kind of pair those tournaments in my mind. So what do you attribute the big win this year to?
Well, who else is on that list?
I don't know. I should have done that research.
No,
yes.
Is there anyone else?
Wiegand.
No.
Well, Wiegand's done it. I know that. That's for sure.
Oh, right.
No, he's done both.
Right.
He's definitely done that.
Wiegand's done everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Let's just
not
go
in
with
that
that,
league.
Evan.
What do I attribute my win to?
Yeah.
Luck.
Okay.
It was a lot of luck. And as I posted and when I shared this the event the show, I said that among other topics I'll be discussing how I sold my soul to the devil in exchange for ensuring that I win.
Beautiful. Well, you're getting some love. You're getting some love in the comments. We've got Zev saying you look like the Unabomber, and James Mack saying Phil Lack plays Scrabble too. I think that's the poker Unabomber.
Yep.
That is the Unabomber, yes. Basically, Evan, I'm wondering, did you play a person under the name of Cesar del Solar this tournament?
No, I did not.
Oh, so maybe that's another reason that can be attributed to you, as this man has attributed my win in TWL to him not being in the division.
Well,
so,
had I played him and I went first, I would have played A to start the game. A, just the letter A.
Thank you. Oh my God, thank you.
Let's not make the whole show about Czar. I'm sure he is gonna be on as either a co-host or a guest star.
Okay,
and we'll definitely talk about his NOLA story. That's for sure. There's some good content to dig into there. Let's talk about your win, Josh. This was your first time playing the Crescent City Cup. Is that right?
Correct.
And what do you think? Are you gonna say luck as well, or are you gonna say something else?
I mean, yeah, of course, I'm gonna say luck. I mean, if he's gonna be humble about it, I gotta be humble about it. I got some very good racks, and when it mattered, I got the timing on my side. That's all it was.
When do you think we're gonna have a player who's like a really excellent player who just craps on every competitor? That'll probably never happen, right?
No, that's me. That's me on the sidelines.
Well, if somebody went 20-0, then they have the right to possibly do well, not the right, but they could go in that direction.
Yeah. When you just decimate, you should be able to just say, You guys just sucked.
All right, I like it. We'll cover that when we talk about David Gibson later. Whether he did any of that kind of trash talking. Okay, so let's talk about what the NOLA experience was like. I want to offer up, first of all, I'd been there each of the previous 5 years. I really enjoyed going to that place, and I didn't anticipate sort of the all the feels that I would have had from watching everybody's posts all weekend long. Shout out to Shelly Ubika, who did a great job with social coverage, and a big shout out to all the players. There was really a ton of individual posting, which is the sort of thing that we need. Posting to not only the NASPA Facebook assets, but to people's personal social media pages or accounts. That's the sort of thing that will help spread the word to a network that goes out beyond kind of our own community. So anyway, props to everybody there.
And also to the players that lent their time to commentating on Twitch.
Oh, of course,
on the feature games.
Right. Special
I just watched. I just watched
all the commentators. Yeah.
I just watched one right now, just before this show. I just watched my first annotated game that Will and Morris were doing, and they mentioned on the fact that we Nathan and I didn't hit the left part of the board for most of the game, and they were wondering if we had a pre-agreement on whether we wouldn't touch that side of the board. Well, the answer is yes, we did. And since he played the word "tox" halfway through the game that hit the left part of the board, that's why he lost.
Correct. Yes, I was made aware of this as well. It's too bad they were not privy to this information on the stream. But yes, this actually happened. This was not a pact with the devil. This was a pact with the Benedict.
So, Josh, talk about what it was like to be in NOLA. I heard it was super cold there. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the first day, Friday, was beautiful, beautiful weather. And then Saturday started off nice and then got insanely cold and windy. Well,
windy. Yeah,
cold,
the wind.
Cold for you Americans, I guess. But it was cold for New Orleans. It got down to like 40 degrees or 5 Celsius. And it was extremely windy, and then it was pretty nippy the next day as well. And it rained a little bit, but not when it mattered. But the weather was crazy. Like the wind was the weirdest thing. Like it was like almost like monsoon weather.
Wow, that's crazy. So that must have put a damper on Saturday night festivities.
Yeah, people were. I know that I was huddled up. I mean, we were waiting online to go to Felix's Oyster Bar with a few people, and it was cold. Luckily we were in the narrower streets in the French Quarter, so the wind wasn't as powerful. How about you, Evan? Were you cold?
Yeah. Walking back from dinner on that night, it really hit you, and that wasn't fun. But I mean, it's better than last year when it was it was colder the whole time last year. Josh, you probably remember that. Except for the last day. The last night was actually decent, but every other day besides that was super windy.
All right. Heidi says, weather really? Get to the Scrabble. So we're going to talk about one other thing, just about what it's like to be in New Orleans. The big Saints game was going on there as well. Was it just...
You wouldn't have been able to tell that Sunday morning based on the music that kept repeating. If you could hear, out from the host hotel.
It was amazing.
You could hear, and it was like from 8 o'clock in the morning on that it was just
until they lost. The music stopped right when they lost.
Well, yeah, but as I told people, Jackson was worried. They said, I guess I should root for the Saints. I said, you know what? Either way, people are going to be drinking. Yeah.
Well, regardless of the result. That's a pretty wise statement there. Very well done, Evan. Yeah, it was. People were like really, really enthusiastic, more than usual. Like I did not expect such amazing vibes, but I mean, I guess I should have. But then once the Saints lost, it was Puneet Sharma said it best. The city was quite subdued after that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, listen, we're getting some feedback here in the comments. Zev wants to know something, and I'm not even aware of this game. This maybe is the stream game between you and Jackson, Josh. Something about the word tweenie and whether you saw it. You want to just give these guys what they're looking for here?
Yeah, Zev, I saw tweenie and didn't remember it. Although in that position, it's probably, I don't know. Based on what I remember from that game, I had to score that turn and bingo the next turn or something like that. And I mean, I guess tweenie scores well, but also doesn't allow me to really come back into the game. I think that's from what I remember. Anything I would have done that turn when I had tweenie would have been just wrong. But I'd already like lost the game at that point, basically.
Gotcha. So, Evan, do you have a most memorable game or play from the tournament? I mean, other than winning it, I guess, at the end. But
well, in the second game against Jesse, which was I guess we played 3 times, but the second one was round 18. Yeah, against Jesse Day. That's right. He opened with a blank bingo. I made a play with a Q. Then he played bold, putting the D in the triple lane in the 3rd position. Mm-hmm. I then made another play elsewhere. He didn't have any vowels on his next turn, so he couldn't block that line. So he played 3 of his consonants through another letter for 15 points. And my rack was I-A-E-I-I-T-U-V. And that rack is garbage, really. But with the D helps because Auditive scored 167 points, and that was that. I mean, there's still 2 rounds to go, and I still had to beat Jesse in the final game. So I mean, but that was a memorable play.
Man, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. nice find, Evan.
Thanks.
Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to say congratulations to both of you guys. Fantastic wins. You think you'll be back next year to defend your crowns?
Absolutely.
Evan?
Most likely, yes.
Right. Evan, this is probably your last tournament of the year. Is that right?
Based on scheduling and other things, this could be. I don't really foresee myself in anything major during the year or anything soon on the calendar.
Gotcha. And I'm just going to ask the question, we haven't mentioned particular lexicons. Obviously, Josh, you won TWL. Evan, you won Collins. What's the plans for Malaysia in 2020, gentlemen, for Team Canada?
Oh, that's
that's behind the scenes. Yeah,
we can't say anything about that.
We discussed it. We discussed it over a blood pact in NOLA.
Yeah, you would have had to have been there, Josh. Unfortunately,
I see. Well, I think what we should do is let's go to our second topic. Thanks so much for joining us, Evan. I'm sure we'll see you on the show again.
Congrats again.
And let's go and talk about someone who was there. We're going to talk about how Jackson Smylie hit 2,100 in NOLA.
Oh,
Jackson!
Oh my God! There he is.
Yeah, I want to say this everybody is Jackson Smylie. He's a former co-host of this show that you're watching now. He's taking an extended break, and Josh Jr. has graciously filled in. Jackson, are you there? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry, you just cut out for a second. I know. I was going to take a break from this show, and I really wanted to, but I was like, you know what? I feel stripped of my whole identity, so I came crawling back this morning. I was like, please take me back. So he said, fine, you can't be a co-host. I'll take you on as long as you stay at your own house. I'm like, okay.
All right.
So thanks for having me.
Talk about 2,100. Obviously, you posted on Facebook somewhere. 2,100 is the new 2,000, right? So
no, my goal is just to devalue what 2,100 means. That's why I came here. That's what my job is. No, I was really happy to 2,100. As anyone saw in my year in review post, I really set this as my goal for 2019. So I was very happy to hit it now.
Uh-oh.
Cut out again. I've been cutting out. My internet's weird. No, it was super underwhelming when it actually happened. It was pretty underwhelming when I won the last game in order to hit it, because I completely bagged the pants off of Joey Malik. But I feel like I've just been very like satisfied the last couple of days. I've gotten a lot of congratulatory messages, which is good. But honestly, like, rating inflation is a big thing. I'm super happy with it, but it's not like I'm any better than like anyone.
Here comes the humbleness again.
That's right.
I know.
You
I've got to
people.
throw in
You
humility. I
Canadians,
feel
you
bad.
Canadians, you're too
I
humble.
really want to brag.
Jackson loves talking about rating inflation. I've only heard him talk about it like 25 times. So this, I think, is the ultimate proof. As Will says in the standings, don't look at the overall who the top people in North America are, because I think, Jackson,
is
you
1
have
point
nipped him
above.
by 1 point to move into
I
fourth place.
See, that's when it really sunk in. I'm like, Will, wow, I think like his fandom of NASPA Tonight really sunk in when I passed the rating, because now I feel like I deserve it.
Fantastic! Big shout out to Will. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about the commentary in a minute. Actually, this is
Very
a
interesting
perfect
thing. Very interesting thing before
Yes,
you
please.
continue. Josh Jackson hit 2100 on the 21st of January. Just letting all of you know that. It's very keen indeed.
very apropos.
I saved it, yeah.
All right. Now, speaking of Will Anderson, one of the games that I really enjoyed watching and thought you did a great job with, Jackson, I think everybody would agree, is the first game of the tournament. And I know with these high pressure tournaments, the first game, you know, if you're going to screw something up, it's more than likely going to happen early, right? Or I guess late as well. But certainly I remember when I first started playing, I think my first 9 tournaments or something, I lost the first game of every tournament because I went in a little shaky. I'm sure you guys don't have that feeling anymore.
Oh, nerves. Yeah, nerves. But usually I can only assume that my opponent is more nervous than I am. So
Right. So
See, I find it weird because sorry, go on.
Oh,
okay, I mean,
I wanted to show a clip, but go ahead and talk about that for a second.
So when I started playing Scrabble, I noticed that I was always playing my best game in the first game of the tournament. Like, without a doubt, I would tackle and play the first game amazingly and then just slowly drop off until the end of the tournament. That being said, more recently, I've been starting really badly. Like in Niagara Falls, I lost my first game to Siri Telekaratny with like a 338 to 348 kind of thing.
Oh, you played so badly in that game.
I know, yeah. When I was playing Bob Fry on stream, and like things weren't really going too well, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose this game, and I was like feeling so bad, and like it just felt like everything was crumbling from the get-go, and I was also hungover, so it was just like the worst of every world. So I was just thinking it was like the same kind of pattern in this long series of tournaments I've had where I've started badly. But then luckily, like stars just aligned in the last few turns, which is one of my favorite things in Scrabble, when you just
let's show everybody what you're talking about. All right, I've got a little clip here.
I haven't seen this.
Okay, so let me get this together, and we're going to go to this clip now. And we'll be back in about a minute and 30 seconds.
Well, folks, you're seeing why Jackson Smylie is on the rise right now, because it looks like he's right on the verge of stealing this game highway robbery style. What I'm saying is, if Jackson plays his P, that's going to empty the bag. So if Bob has a bingo through that E, it's game over for him anyway. So he's got to make sure that, am I missing something through there that he's going to find? But I think he has to gamble that he's going to miss it anyway, right? He has beautiful. Yes. Oh, Jackson. Jackson, cool as a cucumber, by the way.
And so one question is, did Jackson challenge both words? Make Bob not know which word is phony, or was he really clever and only challenged on wrist, signaling to Bob maybe that he thinks that Serenates is valid, but actually doesn't think that?
Yeah, I think that's as I think about it more, it's definitely correct just to challenge the one word unwrist there and don't let on at all that there's any problem with Serenade. And down goes Discode. Wow, amazing. Jackson
Truly an incredible game.
put on a clinic of how to steal a game. Really impressive job by Jackson.
Have some good Game of Thrones references in the chat. The North came for House Frey.
Wow.
So getting some serious love on stream there from Will, and just big shout out to Will and Morris. They did a great job on that call. There was lots of great commentary. Before we get to the stream specifically, Jackson, do you want to comment on what you challenged in that game?
Yeah, so I know everyone was wondering what I challenged. To be honest, I didn't think about it a lot. I challenged both words. I challenged both Unrisked and Serenades. I was positive that Serenade didn't take any hook. So that was definitely something I could have considered. There's definitely something to be said for challenging both words, just because a lot of people are aware of this strategy of only challenging one word. So certain people who are aware of this will actually be like, oh, he's trying to pull a fast one on me. That means Serenades is no good. I don't think my thought process got that far. So I wish I was being that complicated. But generally, you definitely want to just challenge on wrist. But yeah, it was a great game. I was sitting there. Will called me cool as a cucumber. That was just me trying to not make any sort of sudden movement or anything. It was like a bear in front of me. I was like, please don't play unwrit. Please just don't block both my bingos. So I was just trying to sit there and make him just play something impulsive. I was happy about it.
Beautiful. Will offers decent gameplay, incredible commentary. Josh, you wanted to say a couple things about the streaming setup and just what you've been able to watch so far. What were your thoughts on the commentary?
So I didn't see in the clip, I don't know, maybe it was on my end, I didn't see what Jackson's rack was, but I presume there was one in the bag or something, and he knew what it was.
Yeah, there's an E in the bag.
Yeah. And so he set up Discode in 2 spots. Dance, I guess. So yeah, it just seems like what people talk about when it's just like knowing. It's like an end game strategy. It's like knowing what's in the bag and taking advantage of your opponent, like showing you the goods and giving you perfect information of what you need to do to win the game. And it's just a perfect example of taking advantage of that. It was a nice play. It was the first time I saw it. I heard about the challenge. I didn't hear about how he stole the game. So yeah, nice job. And the commentary was, I guess, decent as well.
But yeah, this setup of this stream, we are all complimenting Christian, who was in charge of it. Like, he did an amazing job. This was like the most professional looking stream. Absolutely. It was so good to have cameras on the players. Like, you could see all their twitches and when people were nervous and stuff. I was just like Evan. I was just watching one of the games before this show, and I was looking at my jaw repeatedly clenching as I was waiting for Robbie to miss his bingo.
You do that all the time. Oh my god.
Oh, just in life.
It's so annoying.
It was hilarious.
That's what they call a tell. But
yeah, Christian did a fantastic job. I know he's always saying,
amazing.
It was shaky. This was wrong. It's okay. But everybody else knows that Chris just did amazing job, and I really want to thank him and the commentators. I guess especially Will and Morris, who seem to have been the main commentators for the event. They did a great job interacting with the audience and a great job being very nice to the players in question without necessarily needing to be. Me and Will talked about how nice he was. He's complimenting Jackson, complimenting me, complimenting everybody's play, and I was like, dude, you guys should like be more like ruthless. Come on. But no, there's so much room for that, and I really want to thank all the commentators.
Yeah, and I want to throw my kudos in there as well. Zev says best stream ever. But big props to Lila and to Christian, to Kate, like the whole team over there. They've really invested in that stream. And speaking of investing, they also got some sponsorship from Ellie Dangour. as well for that stream. So that was incredible. And big shout out to the commentators. I thought they were great. I really enjoyed, as you were kind of having some fun with there, Josh, sort of the contrast in styles. So Will and Morris were super nice and complimentary, which I thought was great. I also really enjoyed it. You should catch. There are a few games that Conrad commented on where I would say it was a slightly different style, but it was definitely entertaining nonetheless. And just great work by everybody there is what I would say. And can't wait till they do the next one. And I'm sure, the way this streaming goes is that's going to challenge everybody to raise their game.
Yeah, no, it was great. That's for sure. Yeah, thanks again to everybody. I hope it's just as good next year, if not better, if that's possible.
For sure. And Will gives a shout out to Kenji and Eldar, who I don't think I have seen that game yet. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, all these games are going to be on the NASPA YouTube channel as soon as we can get them up there. If you're dying to see that game with Jackson, you can go find it on the Twitch channel. I think I shared it as well on my Facebook personal feed. So that's definitely one worth watching. You guys played right near the very end, and it was a pretty pivotal game. Can you guys add some comments about that game?
Well, I mean, it's one of the great games when you see Josh Phoney. It's always my favorite type of game when that happens.
So that was the first game.
Even better when I challenge it out.
We've already spoken about. I think Josh is referring to the second game that was actually more decisive. That was like
round 19,
We can
right?
talk about the first game all you want, Jackson.
Oh, the second game. I don't even remember what happened in the second game.
All right, Josh, give us a rundown.
Dude, you won again. So the second
I knew that
game
much,
was like the second game. I was struggling to make sense of my racks during the game. It seems like most of the decisions I made, if there might have been like other ideas there, but my ideas were solid, but they just didn't work out. But I do think that I was just treading water for far too long, and I should have tried to make something happen instead. Been a bit more aggressive instead of keeping the score even with like nothing much to show for. Jackson ended up just during the end of the game. He was already ahead a bingo, and then he bingoed again. That was it. It was
yeah, I made this weird play that I got a lot of flack for.
He's gone again. Yeah,
He'll be back in a second. Go ahead, Jackson.
Freezing. Yeah, I was up a bingo against Josh near the end, and I opened a new bingo line, which it looked super counterintuitive and probably was bad, and I got a lot of flack for it. But I was really trying to just hold on to my S at all costs. And obviously, it's one of those plays where I just end up bingoing again next turn anyways. So I was just like, and I also sat there for 3 minutes before bingoing, and then when I put down my bingo, Josh got up in anger because I just sat there for 3 minutes and played trainees. So I felt kind of bad.
I mean, I didn't get up because you spent 3 minutes. I'm sure you were very worried about playing your bingo, and there's a lot of good reasons for you to be afraid to put it down. I got up because it was 4 games left. This was the second game of 4 on the last day. It meant that I had to at all costs win my last 2 games to win the tournament, and so it was really tough to see that go down. And I knew like when he made the questionable play that this was very likely to happen as well, because there's a blank unseen, there's an S unseen, there's a lot of good stuff in there, and I didn't really have any of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what I appreciate with when you guys talk about Scrabble and about your play against each other is you guys have played, hundreds of games between the two of you, and there's what's going on the board, but then there's also subtext of everything else. So Josh, you talked about Jackson slow rolling or slow playing. I think Evan made reference to that he was yelling at the screen for somebody to make a play. Can you talk about that aspect?
Yeah, well, so Evan was talking about himself. Like he was watching himself play, and he was yelling at the screen like play faster," to himself because he's already seen it happen, so he knows what he should have done. And it was just a funny thing that Evan said. But for us, yeah, subtext is a big thing in our relationship, Jackson.
Yeah, not the anagram though.
Yeah, we played a lot. There's a lot of metagame going on. I was talking about Jackson slow rolling our first game because, I mean, I guess he also slow rolled on his trainees play, but our first game was even worse. Like I was just like staring at the camera and I'm like, "Oh, what's going on? Just
Yeah.
beat me already."
I know you've been waiting for that, but like when you're on stream, like it's such a big feeling because you know every mistake you make is going to get ripped apart by everyone else, and people are going to be talking to you about it. And it's like, geez, I don't want to miss a bingo in my first turn. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to not play slowly on the stream, I find, especially when Josh is staring at you the whole time.
Yeah, well, and crazy too, because I mean, I say you guys play games in 3 minutes all the time. But look, I want to say thank you to Jackson for appearing as our guest tonight. So same time next week. Is that the plan?
Yeah, back at your place.
Good one, Josh. It almost doesn't sound genuine.
All right, Jackson, we're going to let you get back to your night. We're going to cover a few more topics here. So let's move into our next topic. We are going to talk
Thanks so
about.
much, you guys.
Thanks, Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson.
All right. We're going to talk about Durham. This was a tournament that was going on. NOLA, of course, it ends up taking a bunch of the headlines. But Durham is going on at the same time, slightly smaller crowd. But boy, they raise a lot of money. So the last 8 years, this tournament has raised over $40,000, and they added another $9,300 this year, which is just incredible.
It's oh man, I mean, it's just the heartwarming, the feels from this is just great. Like it's just the South in all its glory, the generosity of all the people. It's a tournament that, I mean, if it wasn't the same weekend as New Orleans, I would recommend anybody go to. It's just great people. I'm so happy that this is a thing that people raise money at Scrabble tournaments, because it's not just about playing Scrabble. It's really about the community and tying all of that into trying to make a change and trying to be good people. You know, it's just so great.
For sure. And speaking of people, I want to shout out, like, one of my big questions was we had David Kleonsky on last week, who is one of the organizers of that tournament, and Amal, who is the person that really envisioned the tournament. And those two guys and their whole team there did a great job. But one of my big questions was, how do they raise so much money every year when you're talking about a tournament of, I don't know if it's 50 people, give or take. So number one, all of the entry fees go to are donated to charity. But on top of that, and this is the point that I wanted to make about the people, is that many players donated amounts that well exceeded the $80 entry fee. And David wanted to shout out a few players, or several players, who couldn't attend but went ahead and paid their money anyway in order to contribute. And those would include Winter, Linda Bianca, Marvin Rosier, Diana Levy, Mia Kang, Judy Cole, Samuel Chetty, and Jacob Cohen. So big shout out to them and the team. One of the things that they do is they also receive matching funds. So there was a matching grant of $1,500 from IBM, which is fantastic. And another highlight of this tournament is they ran an unrated newcomers event that drew 26 people. So that also helps drive all of that kind of activity.
Yeah, hearing that, it's just I don't even know what to say. Thank you to all the people that donated to this tournament. What a what a pleasure to have such generous people in the community.
For sure. And it's interesting that it's the same weekend as NOLA, right? Because I think this tournament, well, they both must have started right around the same time. Like maybe this one started a year before. Was this the 8th or 9th NOLA?
This was the 9th.
So they started the same year, I guess, and they've always been on the same weekend. So that's a tournament that I'm definitely interested in checking out. But it's it's a hell of a weekend. Obviously, the long weekends is where you're going to see that kind of I don't want to call it competition between tournaments, but competition for the place on the calendar anyway.
Yeah, and speaking about lack of competition, let's jump into the winner of this tournament.
That's right. So let's throw up the title card here. We're talking about David Gibson, who ran his record. He was 21-0, 15-0 in the main event, 6-0.
16-0 and 5-0.
Oh, 16-0 main event, 5-0 in the late bird. And not only that, not only went undefeated all weekend, also hit 2,200.
Like, I mean, it's kind of like he's in his own world. Like that's how you feel when you're a top expert and you think about David Gibson. You don't think like, oh, he's just better than everyone else, because you kind of like know how he plays and you know like what his strengths and weaknesses are. You know you can probably beat him if you do the right thing. But then you just see his results and you're just like, this guy is just from another planet. Like, how does he just consistently destroy these I mean, they're not like super strong fields, I guess. They're like 1,600 players. Were like the highest rated players in that tournament. But to win 21 games against that sort of field, it's just incredible. It's insane. Like he's 2,200. Like rating inflation. Okay, let's go on the other side of the coin. Oh, it's rating inflation. Maybe it's just rating inflation. Maybe I'm making all this up.
Well, two national championships for that guy. I swear, probably I don't have the longest history with nationals. I think I've been to 6 of them now, something like that. But the best winner's speech I've ever seen, probably in, never mind Scrabble, but like in competition, like just
wasn't
fantastic.
Just crying with him, like.
And super nice, and like super nice in a way where I feel like he doesn't get as much coverage as he deserves, on this show for one, and just in the Scrabble pop culture. I also want to mention, just clarification. So NOLA was in its 8th year apparently, and Durham started the 1 year before that. So definitely, both tournaments should be on your list. Obviously, depending on where you live, how many times you've been to one or the other, but these are both
it seems they're like totally polarized tournaments. Like one tournament is just this amazing charity run event, and the other one's just full of debauchery. Like,
That's
like we should have all been in Durham donating.
That's right. I don't come
on Bourbon Street. It makes me feel like, I don't know, less of a person somehow.
I know. Well, you should. Yeah. Well, in producing a show about Scrabble, I feel the same way. I had a conversation that was exactly like that with Winter heading into the coverage. He's like, all people care about is people getting S-faced in New Orleans. So, but while we're talking about tournaments and the pros and cons of all these different tournaments, let's talk a little bit about some upcoming tournaments that are coming up. So let's throw this up on the screen. We're going to talk about Atlantic City and Caledon, which are both coming up this week. And we're going to talk about Kingston, for reasons that should be probably pretty obvious. So let's talk about Atlantic City. Have you ever been to Atlantic City, Josh?
I have never been to Atlantic City.
Gotcha.
It was I almost went 1 year, but that's a tournament I definitely would like to attend.
I like to go to any tournament where there's a casino there as well. I find those two things go really well together. And the year that I played 510 tournament games was the year that I went to Atlantic City. I double-ended New Orleans and Atlantic City. So I just hung around New Orleans for never mind, you stayed the extra night, which I always recommend people do when they travel somewhere like New Orleans. I think I stayed 3 extra nights, and it was nobody was around. I was there on my own. I had a good time and everything. Weather was beautiful, but and then I got to go to Atlantic City, where I got completely snowed in. But it was anyway. It was lots of fun, and it's held right in the casino. It's where we're going to be going for nationals in Reno. You're in the
it's like
whole
East
thing.
Coast Reno. Okay, I get it now.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
I don't know either. Make with it what you will. So who do you think's gonna win?
Well, I do not have the list of.
I do. So,
Okay, good. Run it down.
okay.
I looked at the list, but give us who are the top contenders there.
All right. So for TWL, we have Matt Graham, Jeremy Hall, Rick Julian, Howard Pistol. Those are the top 4 seeds, 1,800, 1,900 rated players.
Yeah. So, and Matt Graham is at the top.
He is.
What do you think? Does Matt Graham go out and hit this out of the park, or is it the case where a number 1 seed doesn't quite get the job done, a la Jackson in New Orleans?
Yeah, perhaps. I think he's the most likely person to win. But
Sure.
yeah, he should win a tournament. He hasn't won a tournament like that in a long time. And since he's the top seed, unless somebody signs up last minute, such as my no. Yeah, I think I'm going to vote for Matt. I don't know. Are we doing that thing with Jackson? I don't really like.
No, we're not doing that thing because
good.
People really like tournament talk, and we're going to figure out how to cover some top competitors. But because we're going to be going to different guest hosts on a week-to-week basis, there's no look back at how we did. So it's sort of.
Gotcha.
But we'll figure out another way to do tournament talk and just call it tournament talk, I figure.
And mentioning also in CSW, there are only 6 entrants, but Will Anderson, top seed, Ben Schonbrun, second seed, Scott Appel, Tim Weiss, a nice lineup there.
For sure.
I hope Will takes it home. He deserves it after watching so much Scrabble. He deserves to play some good Scrabble.
He may have picked up some tips from players who are now just ahead of him. So let's also talk about Caledon coming up this weekend. Have you played a Caledon tournament?
I've been to one Caledon, Lakebird, Shea, the Brewers Moose, the Tremblays.
And we've covered the way Jason and Sue run tournaments. During the day, there'll be a 7-game event. That'll be really well attended. And then at night, they'll do a 16-player bracket that is Collins only. And that always ends up being kind of a party and people in the hot tub and stuff like that. I've definitely attended a number of times. I know, though, that they are looking for more people, certainly to come to the day event. I don't know if the night is
so many
sold
people
out.
in the night event's definitely sold out. 16 people, 15 in the main event. So if you're in the area of Caledon, Ontario, Toronto area, please sign up. Recommend this tournament, even though I've never been to it. I've only been to the Nightbird, and you can't attend the Nightbird unless you are already signed up. Sorry.
And if you haven't played a Jason and Sue tournament, I would encourage you to. We did a whole, Jackson and I did a whole profile on the way the two of them direct, and you can go to YouTube, type in NASPA Scrabble, you'll find lots of content there. But you'll find under NASPA Tonight full episodes, the title card will be there. It'll say profile of Jason and Sue, and you can check that out. So that leaves us to talk about Kingston. Now, Kingston isn't coming up for a few weeks, but it's a tournament that I'm involved in. We're sitting at, and you've been involved in, obviously, both years. You won the first one, right? Or the second? Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
You did.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, Kingston is a great event. I only wish that we weren't playing with the new words.
Oh, right. So that's a good point. So this is going to be the first tournament in North America that's going to run with the new words. And the reason that is we advertised the tournament as playing with the new words. Then NASPA rolled back the date that they were going to come into play. So we appealed to NASPA and they said, go ahead, you can play with the new words 2 weeks early. So we're definitely going to have some prizes for the first appearance of OK and ooh and, Zen, all that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, that's a reason to come. But also, it's a growing tournament. We went from 40.
It's an awesome tournament, and it's gonna be held at just a fantastic hotel, the best hotel in Kingston. And really, I'm looking. This is what I'm really looking forward to now that I'm back from New Orleans. Definitely attend, and there are even some. Just mentioning about the new words, there. At least one club seems to be people are using the new words. Maybe it's like maybe it's facultative. Is that a word in English? Maybe you don't need to. Like maybe the director is like, okay, if you want to play with the new words, go ahead. Just to get some head starts. Usually clubs should start using the new words before tournaments so that people can get like used to them. So I'm seeing that at least. At least there's that. At least there might be a couple people that have already been playing with the new words. Maybe online. Has online instated the new word list yet?
No, not online.
Facebook?
Not online yet. I don't know what the implementation of that is. It's not like NASPA has much control over that.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns there.
That's right.
People are kind of annoyed, but we won't get into that. Come to Kingston. What were you going to say about?
That the Toronto club, what they're doing is if both players agree to play with the new words, then they play with the new words. But I think that all kinds of clubs do different setups, and we may not be seeing it as much this time around because it's a really relatively small update. Now, I know you, the decision, you were a little bit perplexed by the decision to roll out the new words for this tournament. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Nah, it's just that doesn't make any sense. That's all. But we can move on. Our clock is way over time already.
Yeah, I know. I really said we're going to concentrate on moving along. So anyway, come to Kingston and there you go. So let's wrap up the show. We're going to wrap up with the ever popular. Here we go. With the ever popular birthday segments. Yay. We really appreciate everybody who came on to, we had a really nice active comment field tonight. And so thanks to everybody for watching and for showing up. Special shout outs to Eric Kinderman, Jack Overby, Rod Weiss, Judy Cole, former NASPA Person of the Year. Judy Cole. Love Judy. And to our very special birthday babies who were born today, Shauna Petrie, the irrepressible Shauna Petrie, and Mary Citrelli. So thanks, everybody, for watching.
Happy birthday.
And if you want to see Scrabble content, go out there and subscribe to the NASPA YouTube channel. That's where you're going to see all these NOLA games. There are some recent additions. We just added 45 Alchemist Cup games to that website. And our final from last year, I think, is now past 220,000 views. The final between Joel and Nigel. So things are blowing up over there, but we could use all the help we could get with subscribers.
Watch Scrabble content.
Yes.
Watch Scrabble content.
And speaking of that, we'll be back next week. Josh, I don't think you're going to be back unless you win a tournament between now and next week.
So tentatively, I am going to Atlantic City. All right,
tentatively scheduled co-host Dr. Ken Rubin, and we should have special guest Jack Peters. So we're going to go from focusing on Canada to focusing on the USA. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks so much to you, Josh. I really appreciate your help here, hopping off a plane and getting on a live web show. That's amazing. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.